All right. Wow, I've never thought about how to start this. Should we say hi?
Yeah. Okay, wait.
Okay.
Yeah, we can just say, like, you want to say, like, oh, yeah, we can. I didn't have to roll. um, Hi, everyone. Welcome back. So, in the last video, we talked a little bit about the application research essay and talk a little bit about the YMD PhD essay and then also the personal statement. So to begin with, we thought that we would both talk a little bit about what we each did for our YMD PhD essay and kind of the takeaways that we have from that, and then we'll transition into more general feedback. So Kenneth, if you want to start.
Yeah, so for the YMD PhD essay, it's a relatively short essay compared to the other two that you're writing for in the primary. So it needs to be to the point. And for me, I chose to focus on one story. And I focus on how my experience working with an ophthalmologist scientist informed my current research and future clinical interests, and how I would be able to combine those two if I were to pursue a career as a physician scientist. So I really wanted to highlight how I saw the synergy of science and medicine and the benefits of doing both degrees would have for my future career as a physician scientist. So I really wanted to communicate that I understood what a physician scientist career could look like and articulate for myself a particular physician scientist career that I would see myself being compelled to pursue and happy fulfilling.
Yeah, I think that I shared many things in common with how Kenneth wrote his YMD PhD essay. I feel like one major theme between both of our pieces of work is that we both wanted to communicate that we had a good sense of what it means to actually be a physician scientist. And of course, a really good way of doing that is actually articulating sort of what you would want to do as a physician scientist and presenting a narrative. So for example, I talked a little bit about how I'm really interested in combining bioinformatics and psychiatry and how I felt those gave a very interesting perspective on neuropsychiatric disorders. But at the same time, as much as you want to present one path that you're interested in, you also want to make sure that you show that you're open to other paths and that you aren't just about one specialty or bust, because chances are that your interest will change, and that's something to be cognizant of as well. And then one other thing that I think I included in my essay that was really important to me, in addition to talking about science and medicine and kind of wanting to do both in a career, was I also integrated how being a physician scientist would help me achieve goals in other arenas of things I was interested in. So for example, I really love teaching, so I linked that to how I want to do academic medicine and involved in undergraduate teaching or teaching of medical students. And I also linked that to more general interest in reducing health disparities using data. So other things that kind of revolve around the theme of science and medicine, but aren't necessarily, this is what my clinical interest will be and this is what my scientific interest will be.
And in general, writing about one or two experiences, given the length of the essay, is usually a good rule of thumb. Are there any more general thoughts you had, Maya, on this essay in particular?
Um, I think just that this essay is pretty short. It's the shortest of the 3 essays you're gonna write. So don't feel like you have to hit on every single reason why you want to be an MD PhD, because chances are you'll be able to hit on that in your personal statement and your research statement. Really just use this to give a compelling narrative of what specifically you would do as a physician scientist and what appeals to you about this track in particular that's not covered by an essay that really mainly focuses on clinical or really mainly focuses on research.
Yeah, that's actually an excellent point and great segue to the YMD essay, where you would be really fleshing out and explaining why you want to pursue a career in medicine. And specifically, I think it's important in this essay to keep in mind that the goal is to show why you want to be a doctor, not just to show why you want to help people, because I think that a shortcoming of some essays is that they make a great articulation of why you have all the qualities that would make you a great doctor, but I don't walk away with the sense of why you want to be a doctor in particular. So one successful way to do it is to have a compelling narrative, especially patient interaction, that is concrete and shows and helps explains why you want to be a physician specifically. And in writing this essay, though you have more space, try avoid being too flowery and cliches. as as I'm sure you all can understand, AppComs are reading plenty of these essays. So just stick to the insights that are specific to you and the story that you want to tell in this essay.
Yeah, definitely. I think those are all great points. And it is really tough because, on one hand, like probably the reason why a lot of you want to be doctors, and definitely a reason why me and Kenneth want to be doctors, is helping people. But you want to make sure that you're still kind of being true to like why you do love medicine, while also presenting a story that I'm sure is one of the many stories that compelled you to go into medicine, that's a little bit unique and kind of highlights aspects of yourself that aren't easily found in other people. So, like, one thing that I found really helpful to think about while writing my personal statement was, if someone just read this without my name on it or anything, would they be able to figure out it was me? Or would they kind of recognize my voice and like my experiences in there? So I found that pretty helpful. Um, with that said, I think that a thing that goes really off of it, which Kenneth has already kind of hit on, is just really emphasizing the traits and qualities that also make you well suited for medicine, while also making sure that you're really conveying your specific interest in medicine, maybe through clinical experiences you've had, like patient interactions or shadowing. I think that's really important. And beyond that, I guess the last thing that I want to emphasize is that make sure that even though you're telling a narrative, you're not just like stating facts. You want to make sure that you're kind of explaining how you felt about experiences and like showing and not just telling, because ultimately this is kind of a representation of who you are. So it shouldn't be nearly as dry, of course, as the research essay or something where it's very much like I did X, Y, and Z and now I'm applying to medical school. Really hone in on one or two experiences and then flesh them out.
Yeah, and it's also to say what you're eager to contribute to medicine. So all these qualities, how do you see yourself applying that to medicine? And obviously, as someone applying MD, PhD, that's can be very tangibly seen in your desire to be a physician scientist. So at the end of the essay, it's very natural to write specifically that I want to become a physician scientist because X, Y, Z, to do ABC. And even if you apply both MD and PhD, I'm sorry, and MD, PhD, plenty of MD adcoms recognize the value of having physician scientists, and especially at research heavy institutions, that's something that they will value. So don't be afraid if you are going into this process, applying to both MD only and MD, PhD schools, of stating and declaring your physician scientist interest in the YMD essay.
Definitely. Yeah, I really agree with that. And I feel like I hear this a lot from people who are applying to both types of schools. And I definitely think there's a lot of ways to be a physician scientist, and MD PhD is just one of them. So if that's something important to you, like have it come across in your essay, regardless of MD or MD PhD. Um, but yeah, with that kind of said, I guess we'll reiterate the message we said at the end of our last video, which is that feel free to send us drafts and we can give you some comments, or if you have a specific question or concern, we're happy to answer that as well. But definitely writing the essays of the primary application is a long process, and it can definitely be disheartening at times when you're going through drafts, but just stick to it and you'll find that piece of writing that makes you really proud and you feel like best represents yourself.